I low-key have seen Daredevil Born Again twice, and I haven't uploaded in like 5 months, so yeah, I'm a bit cooked there. But look, Daredevil Born Again was something else. It was not what I expected. I posted so many videos explaining how excited I was for the project and that I couldn't wait for it. So when it finally premiered, I was left with a bad taste in my mouth. And with that being said, in today's video, it has been long overdue, I want to give my brutally honest review of Daredevil Born Again. And before we even get into this video, I want you guys to understand I am literally the biggest fan of Daredevil. The original series on Netflix is my favorite show of all time. Honestly, I think it's the best show of all time. Fight me. So on first glance, my biggest gripe with the show is how it looked visually. Compared to the rest of the MCU recently, it certainly wasn't the worst in terms of style and color grading, and it had some really creative moments, like the aspect ratio change to indicate Matt's hearing and senses. And even though that only happened in the first and last episode, it was still very interesting to see, and I'm really happy they tried something different. But I knew from the trailers that the show visually wouldn't be great or on par with the original series. The rooftop scenes in particular look terrible. They're really hard to look at, and it doesn't even remotely look real. I'm assuming they shot it on green screen to save time and honestly prevent set leaks, but it happened anyway. A lot of things in that opening scene were CGI'd for no reason. The blades in Matt's torso were fake, and that's an interesting choice. I'm not sure why they couldn't be real. I'm assuming it was probably because of filming reasons, so they didn't keep falling out or anything like that. But it caused his entire torso to have to be fake, which just seems like a big inconvenience for CGI artists. Going back to the opening scene, we see Daredevil do a lot of acrobatic things, which is awesome to see. But he does this little wall kick landing thing, and I had to literally rewind the show during the premiere. I put down my hot fries, that's how serious it was. And I thought my TV lagged, but nah, it's just the show. The color grading is okay though for the most part. I guess the original series had me expecting so much more, and you could probably argue that's not a fair critique that I had such a high expectation, because they didn't promise anything. That was just me. So I'll give you that one. But another part of the visuals I want to talk about is the fight scenes. I was actually pleasantly surprised with them for the most part. Once again, there's this weird CGI doubling thing, like when Daredevil jumps off and lands on Bullseye, and it just really looks weird. Daredevil's never moved like that a day in his life, bro. It was off the perk. Or there's this really weird baton zip when he's fighting Muse that genuinely made me look away from the screen. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. But Daredevil was throwing hands as good as ever. One take being in the very first episode was a bold and shocking move. It really set the stage for what we thought the series could be. We ain't seen Daredevil fight again for another 25 episodes. One last thing before we move on, there's some weird ADR choices in this show. The first thing that comes to mind is during the apartment fight with Matt and Frank, and they were talking, and like Daredevil was doing one thing and then his voice was coming from another way. It was just mad weird. I know I just listed a lot of bad things, but I promise there are some things I enjoy about this season. It's just gonna take some time to get into. So one thing about the very first episode is that we're thrown into this world that seems very unfamiliar, and everything happens so quick. I believe it's been 7 years in canon since season 3. And all we get is this short convo in the bar, and then Foggy gets that Tavion Cole treatment. And yeah, it really sucks. It's sad to see my boy get gunned down. No one wants to see Foggy die except Bullseye. Now, the reason for this is almost certainly the overhaul and the terrible show that they thought they could make without it being connected to the original series with Netflix. And I cannot stress the fact more that this should have been a season 4 from the jump. I cannot fathom how making this a reboot was even an idea. The big boys and Marvels were like, yeah, let's make every fan mad. A big problem with this season is that it's boring. And a lot of people would say the original series is boring, which obviously I don't agree with. But the reason why the original series isn't boring and it works is because from the beginning, the writers did the dirty work and made us care about Foggy, Matt, Karen, Ben, and all the other characters. We see them rise, we see them start the firm, we see them fall out, and then eventually get back together. So we're heavily invested in those stories. In Born Again, there's a plethora of new characters that mean absolutely nothing to us. Matt meets Heather and instantly they spark and start dating. And I'm not gonna lie, she low-key kinda sucks. She doesn't add anything to Matt's character. She doesn't really challenge him. She just kind of serves as another distraction from Daredevil. I would argue that she serves more of an importance being the therapist for the Fisk. Her and Matt just aren't a good fit in my eyes. That's probably because I'm Team Elektra and Team Karen, I'm not gonna lie.
No, you're gonna die here.
This is what leaving feels like.
But back to my main point. We've missed 7 or so years, plus the year after Foggy died and Matt quit. And it seems like nothing is mentioned. How the hell is Fisk not next to Ultron's USB stick in a cell? And the craziest part is, bro is mayor. How did a soul vote for him? And look, trust me, I know who the president is. I don't know how he in office either. But Fisk do? Yeah, bro. This man got publicly beat up on his wedding day by Daredevil and been to prison twice. It's getting ridiculous. If I was in New York, we not voting for him. We gonna make a drill diss track on him.
I bet that you think that you sick. I bet that you think that you good. I bet you think this your hood.
And also, I've been saying this since my last videos. Not a new side of Wilson Fisk has been explored this season. Wilson Fisk should not have been the villain this season. Or I guess Muse technically was, but Fisk should not be in this season at all, except for a small cameo. There's nothing more for us to see with Fisk. In season 1, we see Fisk building up his empire. He had corrupt cops in the palm of his hand. In season 3, he upgraded to the FBI. He got his badges up. He manipulated his way out of prison. He was top 5 gangsters and gaslighters. Now it's just another stage of him having power as mayor, which is cool to see, but it's the same song and dance. And sadly, it's the same for Matt as well. We've seen him quit being Daredevil already 18 times, especially at the end of season 2, saying that he didn't need Daredevil, and now under a different circumstance, he's quitting again, only to come back because whether he wants to admit it or not, he's addicted to being a vigilante, and that's okay, so am I. There's an entire bank episode that's pretty cool, I think. It's random as hell, and Matt saves people, and honestly, it's just filler. And it's not really bad because it's kind of entertaining. The whole White Tiger plot point was something I didn't expect, but it wasn't too bad at all. It's actually interesting in a better part of the non-Daredevil time in the show, and by no means is the Daredevil part fixing the show or a great viewing experience. That shit boring too. It was just the least boring part that the show had to offer. It felt very season 3-esque with the whole court case thing and trying to see if corruption was going to take over or if the truth and justice system would, finally come through.
Do it, Red. Come on, he's right. Not worth it. Not worth it.
I couldn't go this entire video without mentioning the worst part of this season, Muse, who quite literally was nothing good. He ain't do nothing. He was killing people around the city, and that's it for a while. Until Matt decides to intervene when White Tiger's niece is in danger. We get one cool fight sequence, and out of nowhere, Muse is being seeing Matt's very recent girlfriend Heather, and he catches an entire clip and dies. And his performance wasn't very convincing either. It was very corny. I could not possibly take him serious. I'm Muse. Like, bro, chill out, pipe down. And I don't know if that's the point that they wanted him to be corny, but if it is, yeah, bro, I don't want to see that. If Muse stays dead, then it'll be an extreme waste of a character, but I kind of hope he does anyway, because I'm just a hater. Overall, I think Daredevil Born Again had way too many disadvantages going into the overall, and should have scrapped everything and started with something new, instead of working with a ticking time bomb. And I know the loss of money would have been extreme, but the product suffered due to the reluctance to start over. And we're left with this uncooked, messy plate of a dish that we've eaten before, but this time it's disgusting, and every few bites there's something acceptable about the food. I don't know if that makes sense. I felt like I was cooking when I wrote that. One of the few redeemable parts of the entire season is the fact that despite all these challenges, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, John Bernthal all still give really good performances. Also the other characters that never left, they came back. They all come back like they never left. There's a heavy hope going into season 2. The problems from the original version pre-overhaul will still linger, but won't be as harsh because they have a lot more room to work with in season 2. So hopefully it'll benefit the writers greatly. Let's hope to season 2 being great.